In this episode of Trekking Through Compliance, we take up episode 5, The Enemy Within.
Compliance, the final frontier. Tom Fox is the voyager of Trekking Through Compliance. His mission? To explore the original series and seek out and share what it can teach you about compliance. Here's your host, Tom Fox.
Episode 5, The Enemy Within. Air date 10/6/1966, directed by Leo Penn, and written by Richard Matheson, one of the great science fiction writers of all time. While gathering specimens on planet Alpha 177, whose night temperature reaches 120 degrees below zero, geological technician Fisher falls off a cliff and injures his hand. He also becomes covered in a magnetic yellow ore. He is beamed aboard the Enterprise, where the transporter behaves strangely. However, it appears to work correctly when Kirk beams aboard shortly thereafter. Unfortunately, the ore has caused the transporter to malfunction, and Kirk is split into two alter egos. The evil one, hostility, lust, violence, of which arrives unnoticed a few minutes after the good Kirk, compassion, love, and tenderness, after the crew has left the transporter room. The evil Kirk makes his way to sickbay, where he demands brandy from McCoy. Meanwhile, the transporter mishap results in a production of an evil horned poodle out of a shy, quiet animal specimen beamed up from the planet's surface. Scotty realizes the consequences and is forced to strand the remaining four-man landing party, including Sulu, on the planet. In the meantime, the evil Kirk enters Yeoman Janice Rand's quarters and lies in wait for her. She scratches him when he attacks her and manages to warn Fisher to call Spock. Unfortunately, the evil Kirk incapacitates Fisher before he can get the word out. Simultaneously, the good Kirk begins showing signs of losing both his decisiveness and his ability to command. Showing great ingenuity, the evil Kirk applies powder to his face to hide Rand's scratch, tricks transporter technician into giving him a phaser, then knocks Wilson out. The evil Kirk then hides in the lower decks, but Kirk and Spock anticipate this move and hunt him down. Spock identifies the evil Kirk and gives him a nerve pinch, but it is not all that obvious what to do with him when he awakens. The eminent Scotty finds the transporter ionizer is destroyed and will take a week to repair. However, this seems too long to wait, as the evil Kirk is exhibiting decreased constitution and appears to be in danger of dying. Spock and Scotty rig the transporter to run off the impulse engines and successfully recombine the dog creature. Unfortunately, the strain of the recombination proves fatal to the pooch. When the good Kirk tries to bring the evil Kirk to the transporter room, he is overpowered, and the evil Kirk goes to the bridge and orders the Enterprise to leave orbit. But the good Kirk follows him there, and eventually Kirk is returned to normal when the transporter is modified and he is fused back from two parts into one, bringing himself back together, literally. The landing party is also beamed back while suffering from frostbite, but nothing worse. This episode is typically seen as a story of retelling of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. The Enemy Within is the duality of man, and indeed the episode's writer, the great science fiction writer Richard Matheson, said it was inspired by Stevenson's work, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. But this is a really troubling episode, and the troubling part is around the Me Too interpretation that you will get rewatching this episode. Yeoman Rand is attacked by the captain, and then she's interrogated by Bones and Spock in a way that was certainly appropriate for the 60s, but it really shows how far we have come with Me Too, and that you really need to be able to thoughtfully and with dignity talk to people who have sexual harassment or sexual discrimination claims against them. So I would urge you to rewatch this episode, perhaps re-listen to the podcast with an eye towards that issue. The episode has a full written score, which is only one of a very small group of episodes, and it is the first instance of the Vulcan neck or nerve pinch. And Leonard Nimoy came up with that, and it has certainly become one of the most ubiquitous tools in all of Star Trek. The episode itself is generally recognized as one of the top 15 episodes of the original series. Several organizations have put it in their top 10 for the original series. So rewatch this episode, take a look at it with the lens of 2022, and I think you'll see a lot of different things than perhaps you saw in the original viewing. Today I want to take up the compliance lessons from The Enemy Within. For those who are unfamiliar with this episode, I hope you will check it out. It really is an interesting episode, particularly on duality, and we'll go into that in some detail. So compliance lesson number 1, the duality of human nature. The split in Captain Kirk's personality highlights the dual aspects of human nature. In the world of compliance, it is essential to acknowledge that everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and that given the fraud triangle or even fraud pentagon, good people can do bad things. Recognize that compliance isn't about following rules, but understanding human behavior and accountability and values. It's essential to acknowledge this, and training programs should address both positive motivations for ethical behavior, potential vulnerabilities that can lead to noncompliance. But don't treat your employees as criminals getting ready to do criminal actions. Number 2, the importance of a unified identity. The chaos in the enterprise demonstrates the dangers of a fragmented identity. For organizations, maintaining a unified compliance culture is critical. Develop and nurture a cohesive compliance culture where all employees understand and commit to the same ethical standards and practices. In other words, a unified culture. Consistent messaging and training across all levels of the organization can help achieve this unity. Number 3, effective leadership in crisis. Obviously, Captain Kirk's situation forces the crew to rely on effective leadership and quick decision-making. Leaders must be prepared to act decisively in compliance crises. This involves not only having a crisis management plan, but also being able to lead with integrity and calm, cool, and collected under pressure. Regular scenario-based compliance training can help leaders and teams prepare for unexpected compliance challenges. Number 4, monitoring of controls, or the role of monitoring and internal controls. The transporter malfunction serves as a reminder of the importance of monitoring and internal controls within any organization. Implementing a robust monitoring system to detect and address issues before they escalate is critical. Regular audits and checks and continuous improvement are essential to the processes to ensure they're functioning correctly and compliance risks are effectively managed. Number 5, addressing ethical dilemmas. This episode presents multiple ethical dilemmas, such as dealing with Kirk's negative side, which is still a part of him. Encourage a culture where ethical dilemmas can be discussed openly and resolved transparently, providing employees with the tools and frameworks to navigate ethical challenges and ensure they make decisions aligned with the ethical values. Number 6, psychological safety. The crew's ability to manage the crisis in many ways depends on psychological safety, their ability to communicate and work together without the fear of retribution. Foster an environment of psychological safety where employees feel comfortable reporting concerns and mistakes. An open-door policy and anonymous reporting mechanisms can help create such an environment. The Enemy Within offers a fascinating exploration of the complexities of human nature and leadership under pressure. By applying these lessons to compliance, organizations can better prepare for and navigate the challenges they face. Remember, compliance is not simply just about following the rules. It's about understanding people, leading effectively, and creating a culture that prioritizes ethical behaviors. Join us on our next episode where we meet Harry Mudd for the first time in Mudd's Women.
If you enjoyed this episode of Trekking Through Compliance, you can help it grow by sharing it with the biggest Trek fan you know.
This podcast is a part of the C-Suite Radio Network. For more top business podcasts, visit c-suiteradio.com.